All those women in the picture just look so happy. Usually the first girls to work in the factory are going to be young, they're going to be unmarried, most of their wages are going to be sent home to their family. They would usually be working a 12 or 14-hour day. What do we consider a full work week in America? 40 hours. So you think they would probably work 12 to 14 hours a day, usually 6 days a week. So we're looking at, upwards of 20 to 70 hours a week. The Lowell factory system is something I hope you saw on the matching sheet. Hope we got that one right. Actually, that was when we did the war together. So you had to get that one. So Prince Captain Lowell founds this town, Lowell, Massachusetts, that's centered around the factory. And the women would be, I'll come back here, they would be brought into dormitories and they would live right across the street from the factory, and really their whole life revolves around their work. They would have dorm patrons that would make sure that they went to church on Sunday, they were in bed by a certain time. And women are starting to get more of a role in teaching in the one-room schoolhouses that are starting to spread more throughout America. And on the domestic front, women were starting to get jobs in the putting out system, which, the opposite of the Non-Intercourse Act, led to more births. But the putting out system was when they would be given fabric to take home for the weekend, sew it, make it into finished product, turn it back into the boss and we're done. All right, we used this term once, but I want you to remember that the cult of domesticity was that idea that women have a sphere that's in the home, but that also women are responsible for basically being a strong moralizing influence on husbands and kids. We mentioned a little bit about women's educational opportunities yesterday. I think I mentioned that Mary Lyon founded Mount Holyoke as one of the first women's colleges. I think that was 1837. Take a second to read that to yourself and think about what is this saying about the structure of society in general. It says, if you're going to have a productive society, what do you have to have? Yeah, somebody loves somebody else. Superior, inferior. And in the home, who's superior? The husband, the wife's supposed to be inferior. And I want you to read this and tell me, is it saying that women should be cared for at all or just kind of ignored? Right. It says women are important, and women need to be protected, and women's interests need to be looked out for. But like AJ said, you've got to trust that the man's going to do that. So women don't need any kind of political role. Just say, hey, don't worry, husband's going to look out for you, or fathers, brothers, whoever. All right. We've already talked a little bit about this, so I'm not going to go back into that in depth. But remember, it's much cheaper to distill corn into liquor to take it to market than it is to take corn to market. So remember, the western parts of states, like whiskey, became pretty much currency. As people moved west and we built more roads, we had that big debate over whether this is the federal responsibility or state responsibility to spend on internal improvements. And actually, roads like the National Road or Cumberland Road that went from Maryland all the way out to Illinois, they had early versions of paving. They were experimenting with tar and how they could use the tar to bind lots together. So these aren't just dirt wagons. The earlier roads, they were made what's called macadam, which is basically like an early tar that was kind of bonded together, but they could be, those roads were destroyed by heavy traffic. So you would have to pay a heavier toll if you had like a four-horse cart than if you had a two-horse cart. The way to go, though, is still water. If you wanted to have a financially profitable way to ship goods and to basically get there fast, get there cheaply, you want to do it streams, rivers, ocean, and it's going to be even more profitable after Robert Fulton develops the Claremont. It's another one from the matching sheet, and the Claremont's the first commercially profitable steamship. Not the first steamship, just the first you're able to basically make it into an efficient business. But it's going to make it so now rivers are two-way transportation. And if you look at this, you can see 1820, you had 60 steamboats on the Mississippi River. Look at the start of the Civil War. Up to 1,000. So that's going to make cities like St. Louis, New Orleans, places that are on the Mississippi River turn to big population centers. But early on, it wasn't all easy sailing. That's the one there, right? For steamboats. You had a lot of fiery accidents as they tried to adapt the technology and figure out, what's the right amount of power to pour into the steam engine to get the maximum speed while still staying safe. And we've talked about the Erie Canal, but I want you to remember that guy. DeWitt Clinton, the governor of New York, it was kind of his brainchild. Not funded by the government, it's funded completely by the state. And it pays for itself for 18 years. So it's going to connect, remember, the Great Lakes really to the Mississippi River. Great Lakes, Mississippi River, Great Lakes to Erie Canal to Hudson River to Atlantic Ocean. All right, now railroads are going to be slow coming to the south, but when they do come to America, you're going to have a lot of problems at first. Like if you look up here at the top right, at first each individual rail company would build different gauges, so different width of the tracks. It's not going to be until much later that they finally standardize the gauge and say everybody's going to make it with that 4 and 8.5 inches, 4 feet 8.5 inches. Another thing that was a problem with early railroads was safety. Until George Westinghouse invents a safety brake and an air brake system for them, trains weren't super reliable. And then at the eve of the Civil War, you had the first Pullman sleeping cars, which were kind of like first-class railroad cars. Look at that map. What section of the country has got the major advantage in railroad mileage at the start of the Civil War? Definitely the North. So the South is still largely agrarian, so the South's going to be way behind North in industrialization. And some of these tracks that were in the South, Northern armies would come through and rip up. We'll talk about how General Sherman would make them into Sherman neckties, where he would rip up the tracks, get them hot, then bend them around trees so Southerners couldn't rebuild them. All right. These are all at the end of the chapter. The only one of those I want you to really focus on is the transatlantic cable. Think about what a monumental task that is. To have that fast telegraph communication from America to England, you can't just make some wireless telegraph, not in the 1850s. So they had to actually roll out a cable at the back of a ship and drag it across the Atlantic Ocean and leave it on the bottom of the ocean. So it's going to make it so you eventually do have that quick communication, but the telegraph is also going to end this guy's business. For a while, the Pony Express was a way to send messages really quickly from the east to the west coast, and they would have these stations where a rider would get a horse and ride it almost to death until the next station, switch horses, ride, switch horses, ride. Well, then the telegraph wires come along and the Pony Express riders go out of business. This is all these improvements in manufacturing and transportation. They're going to make it so the country is more interconnected. So any financial crisis that hits one section is going to hit another section. The southern cotton that's going to be grown in larger quantities due to cotton gin is going to be sent to New England factories, and the finished goods are going to be sent to the south. And then the Midwestern states are going to start to grow more produce and grains that's going to be used not just by eastern states, but also by Europe as well. The last thing I want you to take away from this is what a corporation is. You may have already known this, but a corporation is somebody creates a limited liability partnership, which means that if you invest in this business and the business goes bankrupt, shuts down, whatever, you're only responsible for your initial investment. You're not going to be responsible for everything that's owed, so it's going to make people a little more willing to invest in economic ventures that might not be 100% guaranteed. One of the first corporations is going to be the Boston Associates Group that owns several factories in early New England. So we're moving away from the old self-sufficient households, and more people are starting to buy goods from the market. So we're starting to be a little closer towards modern